Hey, good day everyone. Welcome back. We're going to continue reading this book, Freemasonry and Catholicism by Max Heindel. And in our last chapter, I just want to clear something up. There was a specific point about the element of Azoth and what it is. And as I was reading through, I just added some commentary. When Heindel mentioned Azoth, I threw in there, and what we're talking about is that fifth element, the quintessence. And then, as we kept reading, he mentioned salt, sulfur, mercury, then Azoth being basically the capstone to that way of putting it. But essentially, what we're speaking of is the same concept. That quintessence or fifth element is, from what I remember off the top of my head, is when you add the elements of earth, water, air, and fire to combine into this fifth element or quintessence. It's basically the same idea. It's just a different template to put it in. In this case, it's salt, sulfur, mercury, and then Azoth is like the essence of mercury, like the refined essence of mercury. It's like all three combined, and then that refined essence of the final mercury that you have. But anyway, now that that's cleared up, let's get into chapter 8 here, the path of initiation. In the last chapter, we noted that the transition of the adept from the dominion of death to the realm of immortality was foreshadowed in the daring leap of Hiram Abiff, the Grand Master Workman of Solomon's Temple, into the seething sea of molten metal, and his passage through the 9 arch-like strata of the earth, which form the path of initiation. We also remember that at the end of that journey, Hiram Abiff, the son of Cain, received from his ancestor a new hammer and a new word for the use in the new age. According to the Gospels, we also find that Jesus, the son of Seth, immediately after his descent from Golgotha, entered the subterranean strata, where he remained for some time in communion with the spirits who dwell there. Thus, the various strata of the earth, from the circumference to the center, form the path of initiation, both for the sons of Seth and the sons of Cain. And that is the reason why little or nothing is said of the inner construction of the earth in the multitudinous books dealing with subjects of occultism. Those who are simply psychics do not know, and those who do not know are not saying much, and those who do know are not saying much. There is a chapter on the subject in the Rosicrucian Cosmoconception, which gives about all that one dares to tell, and to that the reader is referred for further information than is here given. Okay, I want to stop and I want to address this. There's a very important mystery in the interior of your body. And it's the innermost part of your body. And just, it's not your heart, okay? And it's not anything that anyone commonly thinks of. And I'm not going to tell you what it is right now. But think on what the innermost part of your physical being is. And we may cover this at some point, but I don't want to just come right out and say it right now. But really think, what is the innermost core of your body? And don't think about organs or anything like that. We got to go deeper. Okay? There's a grand mystery in understanding that. We might get into it at a point. The path of initiation is guarded in various ways. While we walk the earth in our physical bodies, we are drawn towards the center of the earth by the force of gravitation. But our bodies being solid, that is to say, of the same density as the material whereof our globe is composed, we are prevented from sinking through the earth by displacement as we would sink in water, or by interpenetration as we would pass through ether. When death comes and we shed this so-called mortal coil, we find ourselves in vehicles that are finer than the elements of the earth, and a person clothed in these finer vehicles could easily penetrate through the various strata of our globe to the center of it, if there were no other obstacles. Having shed the dense body, he is no longer subject to gravitation, but to levitation, and on that account he usually finds it sufficiently difficult to stay upon the surface of the earth. Only during the first part of his post-mortem experience, when he is still loaded down with the coarsest ether and desire stuff, is this possible for him. The more he has gathered of that denser substance by indulgence of his lower nature and cultivation of the habit of drunkenness, covetousness, hatred, malice, immoral emotions, and disreputable vices, the easier it is for him to stay around low saloons, gambling houses, red light districts, and kindred places. But the man of high ideals and lofty aspirations, who would be the one likely to seek the path of initiation, feels the impelling force of levitation drawing him outward into the purer strata of the air, where the first heaven is located, and thus effectually prevented from trespassing upon the path of initiation. Stories are told of initiates having overcome the law of gravitation to rise in the air at certain times for a definite purpose while still in their dense body. Initiates are also taught how to suspend the law of levitation when they are in their soul bodies and pass through the 9 strata of the earth. It is said that Jesus was the son of a carpenter, but the Greek word is tekton and means builder. I'll just interject there too. Tekton, even to this day in Greek, is the word that's used for Mason, for Freemason. That is the word that they actually use for that. Arche is the Greek name of the primordial matter. It is also said that Jesus was a carpenter, in parentheses tekton, himself. And to interject, that would also imply that he was a mason. It is true, he was a tekton, builder or mason, a son of God, the grand architecton. And at the age of 33, when he had taken the 3 times 3, which equals 9, degrees of mystic masonry, he descended to the center of the earth. So does every other tekton, mason, or Freemason, in parentheses, child of light, as the Egyptians called them, descend through the 9 arch-like strata of the earth, and we shall find at the time of the first advent of Christ, both Hiram-Abith, the son of Cain, and Solomon, the son of Seth, reborn to take from him the next great initiation into the Christian mysteries. Last chapter we saw, while considering the philosopher's stone, that the spinal cord is the principal laboratory of the alchemist, and that the spinal spirit fire, generated by turning the creative force upwards through the spinal canal, passing it between the pituitary body and the pineal gland in the brain, gives to man a third eye, as it were, wherewith to see in the spiritual worlds. When this serpentine fire has been sufficiently evolved, he may read by its light the wisdom of the ages. Therefore, Christ exhorted his disciples to be wise as serpents, and the Egyptian word naja, which means serpent, is used at least once in the Hebrew Bible in the 58th Psalm. In ancient Egypt, the pharaohs were kings and priests, holding a double office, and they therefore wore a double crown with a uraeus, or serpent head, so placed that when wearing this crown, the uraeus seemed to protrude from the emperor's forehead between the eyebrows. The serpentine uraeus was therefore an apt symbol of the wisdom of the wearer. It will be remembered that according to the Bible story, the Lucifer spirit appeared to Eve as a serpent, a son of wisdom. Cain was born from this union with Eve according to the Masonic legend. It is also stated that the Lucifer spirit then left Eve, who thus became a widow, and Cain was thus the son of the Lucifer spirit, the serpent of wisdom, and Eve, the widow. Every initiate to this day has the serpent symbol on his brow, and is known to his fellows by that token as a son of the widow and the Lucifer spirit. Therefore we shall trace Hiram Abiff to his next embodiment by that mark, and as evidence given by a party against its own interest is particularly valuable according to law, we call special attention to the following points gained from the Catholic Latin Testament. In 1 Samuel 19, King James Version, Naioth is spoken of as a place where a school of prophets and seers dwelt, Samuel among others. Naioth is the feminine plural of Najah, a serpent, which we have already mentioned is an Egyptian word used in the Bible. In the Latin version, the same place is spoken of as Naim, and Eusebius says it was located near Endor, famous as a abode of the witch, through whose instrumentality Saul spoke with Samuel after the latter had passed on. But it is not to be supposed that Naioth and Naim are places, or that they were used interchangeably. They describe two widely different classes of spiritually gifted people, which the ancient Egyptians had marked by placing the uraeus upon the brow of some and at the navel of others. The latter were mediumistic persons receiving impressions from spirit controls or through the solar plexus. They were properly designated Naioth by the Hebrews, who used the feminine suffix to indicate their negative qualities. But the voluntary clairvoyant and initiates represented by the Egyptians as having the serpentine uraeus in the forehead were called Naim by the Hebrews, who used the male suffix to designate the positive spiritual faculty they possessed. And the Latin Catholic version of the New Testament, Luke 7:11-15, speaks of the person raised by Christ as the widow's son of Naim. As the serpent is not fully unfolded until the ninth arch of the lesser mysteries has been passed and the candidates become aspirants to the greater mysteries, and further, because the lodge of Freemasons, children of light, of ancient Egypt are now translated to the various branches of the Anglo-Saxon race, where the sound nain means nine. The original word has been corrupted to mislead all not entitled to the knowledge. But all things change on the terrestrial sphere, and this applies also to the methods of initiation and the requirements thereof. Hiram Abiff failed in his great effort to make the molten sea at the time when he was building Solomon's temple, because he, the son of fiery Lucifer spirits, did not know how to blend that element with water, poured into his mold by the sons of Seth, the creatures of the water god Jehovah. At that time, he was given a new hammer and a new word. The hammer was in the form of a cross, and the word was written upon a disk. Before he was finally slain by his adversaries, and so he slept until, as Lazarus, the widow's son of Nain, he was raised by the strong grip of the lion's paw, the Lion of Judah. Then the disk was found, also the new cruciform hammer, and upon the disk the mystic symbol, the rose. In these two symbols lie hidden the great secret of life, the blending of water and fire. As the earth-born fluidic sap ascends through the stem and calyx of the flower to the fire-tinted petals, born in purity of the sun, but still guarded by the thorns of the martial Lucifer spirits. Exoteric Masonry, which is only the husks of the mystic order formed by the sons of Cain, has in modern times attracted the masculine element with its positively polarized physical vehicles and educated them in industry and statecraft, thus controlling the material development of the world. The sons of Seth, constituting themselves the priestcraft, have worked their spell over the positive vital bodies of the feminine element to dominate the spiritual development. And whereas the sons of Cain, working through Freemasonry and kindred movements, have openly fought for the temporal power, the priestcraft has fought as strenuously and perhaps more effectively by stealth to retain their monopoly upon the spiritual development of the feminine element. To the casual onlooker, It would seem as if there were no decided antagonism between these two movements at the present time. But though Freemasonry of today is but a shell of its true ancient mystic self, and though Catholicism has been terribly tarnished by the touch of time, in that one thing there is no difference. The war is as keen as ever. The efforts of the Church are not concentrated upon the masses, however, as much as upon those who are seeking to live the higher life, so that they may gain admission to the mystery temple and learn how to make the philosopher's stone. As mankind advances in evolution, the vital body becomes more permanently, positively polarized, giving to both sexes a greater desire for spirituality. And though we change from the masculine to feminine in alternate embodiment, positive polarity of the vital body is becoming more pronounced regardless of sex. And this accounts for the growing tendency toward altruism, which is even being brought out by the suffering entailed by the great war we are now fighting. For all agree that they are seeking to obtain a lasting peace, where the swords may be turned to plowshares, and the spears into pruning hooks. In the past, humanity has been claiming universal brotherhood as a great ideal, but we must come closer than that to be in full accord with the Christ. He said to his disciples, "Ye are my friends." Among brothers and sisters, hate and enmity may exist, but friendship is the expression of love and cannot exist apart from that. This is therefore the magic word which will eventually level all distinctions, bring peace upon the earth and goodwill among men. This is the great ideal proclaimed by the Rosicrucian Fellowship, an ideal which points the shortest way to the new heaven and the new earth, where the sons of Cain and the sons of Seth will eventually be united. And that's going to do it for that chapter, everyone. Thanks for listening. We'll get on this next chapter as time permits. And again, thanks again. We will talk to you later.